Hello students, so here we are into another zoology NEET class. So we are going to learn the continuation of the principles of inheritance and variation concepts only today. In our previous class we have learnt that how is a monohybrid cross occurring, what is the phenotypic ratio, what is the genotypic ratio, all those concepts we have learnt. So we have also learned that how do we determine the sex of how do we determine the genotype, how do we determine the genotype of the F1 and F2 individuals, okay, how do we determine the genotype of the F1 individuals, okay. So first, how can we define the genotype of F1 individuals is, if we have to see the dwarf individuals genotype, okay, if we have to see the dwarf plants genotype, then what do is we continuously self cross this, we continuously do dwarf F1 dwarf into F2 dwarf into F2 dwarf, okay, we cross F2 dwarf into F2 dwarf. Then all the individuals in the F3 generation were found to be dwarf. Mendel has did this crosses. He crossed F2 dwarf to an F2 dwarf. He observed that all the F3 individuals were dwarf. Okay. Then he did crossing between F3 dwarf into F3 dwarf. Then he has observed that in the F4 generation also all the individuals were dwarf. So by this he understood that this dwarf plants, they are homozygous. Dwarf condition is a homozygous condition, that means they have the same alleles, okay. These dwarf individuals, they have same alleles. In this way, the crossing, by making the self crossing between the F2 and F3 dwarfs, Mendel has observed that this dwarf character in the pea plants is a homozygous character, okay. He has observed that this dwarf character in the FP plants is a homozygous character, okay. So this is very easy for him, it was very easy for him to do, because dwarf cross dwarf and then all the F3 and F4 individuals were obtained to be dwarf, okay. But now students, the question arises with the tall plants actually. How do we identify the genotype of the tall plants? See, capital T, this is also a tall plant, capital T, small t, this is also a tall plant. This is a homozygous tall plant and this is a heterozygous tall plant. So how can we say that if our tall plant is homozygous or it is heterozygous, okay. For that we perform test cross. Mendel has performed a test cross. So now let us see what is a test cross. Okay, so a test cross is, it is the crossing between the F1 individual and the recessive parent okay. It is the crossing between the F1 individual and the recessive parent, okay. So here F1 is the individual which is obtained after crossing the tall plant and a dwarf plant. Here in this case the F1 is obtained by crossing tall plants and dwarf plants. How is the F1 obtained? F1 is obtained by crossing the phenotype. Tall is crossed with a dwarf. So it was already assumed that we have taken a pure lines, right. So genotype of these plants will be like tall capital T and dwarf small t, okay. So here next the gametes will be forming. The gametes formed here are capital T from the genotype capital T, small t from the dwarf individual. Now these will fuse together forming the F1 generation. The F1 individuals, they are going to be capital T, small t. So we don't know exactly what is the genotype of this individual. We have observed the phenotype of this individual to be a tall, but Mendel, he doesn't know if this is a homozygous tall or if it's a heterozygous tall. Okay, so there is a dominant character tall exhibited. So this is also tall, this is also tall. So how can we say that if the tall individual is having this genotype or this genotype? It is observed by making a test cross. Here we are crossing the F1 individuals to the recessive parent. Who is the F1 individual? Capital T small t is the F1 individual. Who is recessive parent? Dwarf is the recessive parent, because dwarf character has not appeared in the F1, dwarf parent is the recessive parent. Okay. So now we need, for identification of the genotype of this tall plants, we have to make a cross with this recessive parent, that is dwarf individual. Okay. So let us make this cross now. So here we are crossing the phenotype tall to dwarf. Okay. So this phenotype tall, it can be anything, students. The phenotype tall, it can contain a genotype capital T small t, and dwarf is always small t small t. This tall, it can be also capital T or it can be capital T small t. How can we identify if the tall individual is a capital T or capital T small t? By performing a test cross. By performing a test cross, the genotype of the individuals can be identified. Okay. So here we observe this genotype and now we get our gametes. Okay. Capital T small t is this gametes. Okay. So now these are going to undergo fertilization. By just drawing a Punnett square, we can identify male or female, they can be anything, capital T small t small t. So small t, capital T small t, capital T small t small t small t small t. So here in this condition, okay, here in this condition, when the genotype of this tall individual is heterozygote, what did we obtain? We have obtained a tall and a dwarf individual. Okay, capital T small t is a tall individual, small t is a dwarf individual. Okay, so here we have crossed a tall individual, we have got a tall individual and a dwarf individual. So when the genotype of the tall individual, it was capital T small t. When the genotype of tall individual was capital T small t, then the test cross results were like, one tall is to one dwarf individual. Okay, the test cross was genotypic ratios, the test cross ratio was like 1 tall is to 1 dwarf. So students, here the ratio, phenotypic ratio in test cross is 1 is to 1, 1 tall, 1 dwarf. Okay. So here this is the condition that we obtain when the tall individual is a heterozygote. Okay. This is the condition when the genotype of tall individual is capital T small t. In that case, in the test cross we obtain 1 tall individual and 1 dwarf individual. Okay. We obtain 1 tall individual and 1 dwarf individual in a test cross with a heterozygote individual to a dwarf parent. Okay. Now students, let us see what happens if the tall individual is a homozygote. Okay. Again we are going to take the phenotypic ratio, we are going to take tall into dwarf only, but here now the genotypes are different. The genotype of tall is capital T. Our tall plant is now a homozygote. Okay. Our tall plant is now a homozygote. We are crossing this tall homozygote to a dwarf individual. Okay. So what will be the gametes here now? Capital T, small t. Capital T from tall, small t from dwarf. So now only capital T and small t are going to undergo fertilization. The F1 generation will contain capital T, small t. That means here in F1 generation all are tall. Okay, all are tall. So here students, when the genotype of the tall plant is, when the genotype of the tall plant is capital T, then all F1 are tall only. Okay, then all the F1 are tall only. So note the difference here students between the heterozygous tall and homozygous tall. Here the genotype of the tall individual was capital T small t. That means this was a heterozygous tall. It resulted in one tall and one dwarf. 1:1 ratio of the phenotypes was appeared in heterotypic tall, heterozygous tall. But when the tall individual was homozygous, we have obtained all the F1 individuals to be tall. So according to the results of the test crosses, we can identify if the individual is a homozygous or a heterozygous individual. If it is a homozygous individual, then all the F1 individuals will have the same phenotypic character. When it is a heterozygous individual, the F1, the whatever obtained offsprings are there, they show two different phenotypic characters. Okay, so this is a test cross by which we can identify the genotypes of the offsprings. Okay, we can obtain the genotypes of the offsprings. Okay, in the same way we can identify the genotype of the dwarf individual also, as we have already done, but we will once again do. Okay. Okay. So dwarf, as we have already done, dwarf individual was crossed with the dwarf individuals. It resulted in all the dwarf individuals only. Okay, in the F1 generation. Okay, sorry, F2 generation. F1 generation dwarf and F1 generation dwarf, when they were crossed. Okay, or we can simply say whatever the F2 dwarf we have obtained, we have crossed it with the dwarf parent. Okay, we have crossed it with the dwarf parent. F2 dwarf, we have crossed it with a dwarf parent. Then what happens? All the offsprings were dwarf only. All the offsprings were dwarf only. Okay, all offsprings were dwarf only. So here we observe whatever cross earlier we have observed that if there is a homozygous condition, then all the offsprings of a test cross will be same. Same here is observed. If a F2 dwarf is crossed with a dwarf parent, then all the individuals are dwarf only. So dwarf character is a homozygous character. Dwarf character is a homozygous character consisting of two small t's. Okay. So these were the observations Mendel has made, students. From all these observations that Mendel has made, Mendel has proposed two laws of inheritances based on his observations on monohybrid cross, where only single gene is considered. By considering single gene, Mendel has proposed two laws of inheritance. Okay, so they are called Mendelian laws of inheritance, Mendelian laws of inheritance. He proposed two Mendelian laws of inheritance. Okay, he proposed two Mendelian laws of inheritance. The first one is, the first Mendelian law of inheritance is law of dominance, law of dominance. And the second law of inheritance is law of segregation, law of segregation. Okay, so we are going to learn in detail about law of dominance and law of segregation. These two laws were proposed by Mendel based on the monohybrid cross, where he has taken only single gene into consideration. Okay, let us now study law of dominance and law of segregation. The first law, that is law of dominance. Okay, law of dominance. So, students, Mendel has observed that there are some discrete units of inheritance. Okay, there are some discrete units of inheritance which are passed from one generation to another generation. Okay, there are some discrete units of inheritance. There are some discrete units of inheritance which are passing the characters from one generation to another generations. Those units of inheritance are called as factors by Mendel. Okay, Mendel called those units of inheritance as factors. Okay, and he also said that the factors always occur in pairs. These factors, they always occur in pairs. Okay, these factors, they always occur in pairs. Okay, so among these two factors, okay, they are always occurring in pairs, right? Among those factors, among these two factors, one is dominant and one is recessive. One is dominant and one is recessive. These were proposed in law of dominance. Okay, he is saying that discrete units of inheritance called factors are present in living organisms. There are discrete units of inheritance called factors which are responsible for passing on the characters from one generation to another generations. Okay, he also added that factors always occur in pairs. Factors, they always occur in pairs only. Okay, and he added that among these two factors, one is dominant and one is recessive. One factor is dominant and the other factor is recessive. Okay, so how he has made all these observations is, see students, few things whatever we have observed from the earlier crosses. Okay, we will take the same tall plants into consideration only when the tall plants were crossed with the dwarf plants. Okay, when the tall plants were crossed with the dwarf plants, all F1 individuals were tall. All F1 individuals were tall. This dwarf character has not appeared in the F1 generation. These are the parent plants. When a tall plant was crossed with a dwarf plant, all the F1 individuals were appeared to be tall. Okay, so capital T, small t. It results in capital T, small t tall individuals. When the F1 individuals were crossed, okay, when the F1 individuals were crossed, capital T small t was crossed to capital T small t, it resulted in capital T small t, capital T small t. These are the gametes formed from both the types. Capital T, capital T, capital T, capital T, this individual was tall. Capital T small t, this individual was also tall. Capital T small t, this individual was also tall. Capital T small t, capital T small t, this individual was also found to be tall. Capital small t, small t, this individual was found to be dwarf. Okay, so this is the F2 generation. So in the F1 generation we have observed all were tall, but in the F2 generation we have observed that there are dwarf individuals. We have observed that the phenotypic ratio in the F1 generation was equal to 3:1, 3 tall and 1 dwarf. Okay, so what is observed here students? The character which is not expressed in the F1 generation, whatever the character, it is not at all expressed in the F1 generation, but it has appeared in the F2 generation, it has appeared in the F2 generation in the ratio 3:1. 1 being the dwarf character. The character which has not appeared at all in the F1 has appeared in the F2 generation. That means here, because the alleles from both the gametes are consisting of alleles from both the parents, here the T factor, whatever the factor T is dominant over small t. That is why in the F1 individuals, because they were having both capital T and small t, because capital T being dominant, small t is not expressed. So here we observe that in this case capital T is a dominant allele and the dominant factor, according to this person we have to speak. So capital T is a dominant factor and small t is a recessive factor. Capital T is the dominant factor, small t is a recessive factor. Okay. So, here from this observation we have observed that capital T is dominant because it has appeared even in the F1 individuals, and small t is a recessive factor because it has not appeared in the F1 directly, it has appeared in the F2 generation. Okay. So, in this way one of the factors will be definitely dominant, one will be recessive according to Mendel. Okay. So, this is the first law of dominance. That is the first law of dominance is saying that there are discrete units of inheritance passed from, called as factors, which are passed from one generation to another generation. Okay. And factors, they always occur in pairs. Factors, they will be always occurring in pairs. And among these two factors, one is going to be dominant and the another one is recessive. Okay. The factor which has expressed itself in the F1 generation is dominant. The factor which has not expressed itself in F1 directly expressed itself in the F2 generation is said to be recessive. Okay. This is all about the first law of inheritance, law of dominance. Then the next thing we are going to learn is the second law that is law of segregation, Okay. Law of segregation is saying that there is no blending of the characters. It is no blending of characters is seen in the F1 individuals. No blending of the characters. As we have taken the example of tall and dwarf only, see we have observed tall plants and dwarf plants only. We have not seen any intermediate type of plants. Any plants with intermediate height we have not seen. So, we have observed only tall and dwarf. So, this is because there is no blending of the characters. Tall character is completely separate and dwarf character is completely separate. Okay. So, this kind of no blending of characters is called as law of segregation. Okay. See students, here in the F1 individuals, capital T, small t, this is the F1 individual, right. So, though this is consisting of two different types of alleles for the tall character, during the formation of gametes, these two alleles they separate, these two factors they get separated. Capital T will be going into one gamete, small t will be going into another gamete. They don't get mixed, okay, they don't get mixed. They are not completely separated from each other. During formation of gametes, capital T will go into half of the gametes, small t will go into half of the gametes. Okay. During formation of gametes, these two alleles they will get separated independently. Capital T will go into 50% of the gametes, small t will go into another 50% of the gametes. Other than that, there is no mixing up of characters. Okay. So, that is why students we are not able to see intermediate heights. We are able to see tall plants or dwarf plants, that is all. We are not seeing any intermediate heights because there is no blending of characters. These two factors they will be separating independently. This is called law of segregation. Law of segregation is saying that the two factors they separate independently. Capital T factor is separating and small t factor is separating. Half of the gametes contain capital T, half of the gametes contain small t. In that way there is no blending of characters found in the Mendelian crosses. Okay, this is law of segregation. The gametes will separate independently. Half of the gametes containing gametes containing one factor, another half of the gametes containing the other factor. In that way, the gametes will be separated from each other during the formation itself. Okay. So, this is second law of segregation. Okay. So, this was all proposed by Mendel. So, students, when the same experiments that were performed by Mendel on Pisum sativum, the pea plant were there, when the same experiments were performed in some other plants, the results were somewhat different. The results were somewhat different when the same experiments were performed on the other plants. Let us see what happened when the same experiments were performed on the other plants. Okay. So, incomplete dominance, incomplete dominance was observed in some plants. Okay, so incomplete dominance is nothing but here the character of the both parents is not found in the F1 individuals. The F1 individuals show an intermediate character between the two parents. The character is going to be between the characters of two parents, that is called as incomplete dominance. Okay, the characters shown by the F1 will be intermediate to parents, will be intermediate to the parents. Okay, the characters shown by the F1 individuals will be intermediate to the parents. So, let us take an example and study this. There was a plant called dog flower or Antirrhinum. Okay, dog flower belonging to Antirrhinum species. It is also commonly called as snapdragon. Okay, snapdragon. So, in this plant there were two wild type of flowers. Okay, they were showing red colored flowers. They were showing red colored flowers and white flowers. Okay, so when a cross was performed between red colored and white colored flowers, red flowers plant to a white flower plant. Okay, these were the phenotypes, red flower plant to a white flower plant. Assuming their genotype to be capital R for the red, for the white small r. The gametes would be capital R because both the factors are same, small r here because both the factors are same here also. So, now the F1 individuals possessed capital R small r, the F1 individuals they possessed capital R small r, and here in this case the F1 individuals they were found to be pink colored. The flowers were found to be pink colored flowers appeared in the F1 individuals. Okay, pink colored flowers appeared in the F1 individuals. Okay, pink colored flowers appeared in the F1 individuals. Okay, so this was not red, not white, an intermediate between them. Between red and white, pink colored has appeared in these flowers. So, this is incomplete dominance. So, the red colored character is not completely dominant over white colored character. Okay, red colored character is not completely dominant over white colored character. That is why this red colored character has not appeared, white also not appeared, pink color which is in between these two, because of incomplete dominance of the red character, pink colored has appeared in the flowers. Okay, let us see what happened in the F2 generation. In the F2 generation we are crossing a capital R small r, like we are crossing a pink flower to a pink flower plant, pink flower plant to a pink flower plant. We obtain what do we obtain? Let us see, capital R small r, capital R small r. This is the genotype. Okay, then what are the gametes that we get? Capital R small r from this individual, capital R small r from the other individual. Let us draw a Punnett square. Okay, whatever you can take them as a male or you can take them as a female. Capital R small r, capital R small r. Okay, these are the gametes, right? So, capital R, this would be a red flower. Capital R small r, this will be a pink flower. Okay, capital R small r, this will be a pink flower. Small r, this will be a white flower. Okay, so these are all the F2 individuals. Okay, so these are all F2 individuals. So what did we observe in the F2 individuals, students? In the F2 individuals we have observed that phenotypic ratio which is red is to pink is to white. It was 1:2:1. See, 1 red, 1 pink. So, 2 pinks and 1 white. So, 1 red, 2 pinks, 1 white. So, 1 red, 2 pinks, 1 white. So, the phenotypic ratio was 1:2:1, which is completely different, okay, which is completely different for about with concern to the phenotypic ratio of the Mendel, okay. In Mendel, what was the phenotypic ratio of the F2 cross? Mendel's phenotypic ratio of F2 cross was 3:1. But here in the F2 cross of the incomplete dominance, this was according to complete dominance, okay. This was according to complete dominance 3:1, but here according to incomplete dominance we got 1:2:1 as the phenotypic ratio, okay. When we come to genotypic ratio, okay, genotypic ratio is 1 RR, RR capital R is to capital R small r is to small r, capital R 1, capital R small r. So, 2, 1:2:1 small r. So, 1:2:1, this is the genotypic ratio. So, in incomplete dominance the genotypic ratio and phenotypic ratio are same. So, here this genotypic ratio is of the incomplete dominance and complete dominance is same, okay. Genotypic ratio of complete dominance is also 1:2:1, but the phenotypic ratios are different, okay. Here the meaning of genotypic ratio is going to be different, because here capital R is red, capital R small r is pink, and capital R is white, okay. But in the earlier case during complete dominance we have observed that both homozygous and heterozygous dominant conditions were found to be same. Here homozygous dominant is showing one character, heterozygous condition due to incomplete dominance is showing some other character, homozygous recessive is showing other character, okay. So, this is incomplete dominance, okay. So, what is incomplete dominance, students? The characters shown by the F1 individuals will be intermediate to the parents. What points to be noted for NEET I am saying now? The characters shown by the F1 individuals will be intermediate to the parents in incomplete dominance. Examples: dog, flower, snapdragon or antirrhinum species, okay. Here example is taken regarding the flowers, red and white flowers. F1 showed pink flowers, F2 showed, the F2 individuals showed all the 3 flowers, red, pink and white colored. Remember the phenotypic ratio of F2 is 1:2:1 in incomplete dominance. Genotypic ratio is also same, 1:2:1. These are the things that have to be remembered for NEET point of view, okay. And there was another case called as codominance. Codominance means both are dominant, both the alleles are dominant, okay. In first condition dominance we have seen that only one of the characters is appearing in the F1 generation, right. And we have observed in the incomplete dominance that between the intermediate of the 2 alleles, intermediate characters of the 2 alleles was observed in the incomplete dominance. Whereas in codominance both the allelic characters will be expressed, okay, both the allelic characters will be expressed together in codominance, okay, both the characters of alleles will be expressed. The characters of both the factors will be expressed, both factors will be expressed, okay, that is codominance. And this codominance is seen, for example, this codominance is seen in ABO blood grouping in human beings, ABO blood grouping in human beings, okay. In human beings this ABO blood grouping is due to the presence of, okay, it is due to the presence of the allele I, okay. This is the gene I am sorry, this is the gene I which is responsible for ABO blood grouping in human beings. This gene, it has 3 allelic forms. Generally any gene will have 2 forms, right, but here this gene is having 3 allelic forms, okay. Those 3 allelic forms of this gene are, the 3 allelic forms of this gene are IA, IB and small I. This IA and IB are dominant alleles, Okay, I and IB are dominant alleles. The small I is a recessive allele. Okay, the small I is a recessive allele. So, generally students, on the surface of red blood cells, on the surface of the red blood cells in human beings, on the surface of red blood cells there will be sugar polymers. Okay, on the surface of red blood cells there will be sugar polymers, okay, which are produced by the gene I, which are produced by the gene I. Okay. A genes produce A type of sugars and B genes produce B type sugars. Okay. A genes produced A type sugars, B genes produce B type of sugars. A and B type of sugars, these are closely related. These are closely related sugars. But gene I, it does not produce any sugars, does not produce any sugars, it does not produce any sugars. Okay, it does not produce any sugars. So, because there are 3 different types of alleles for the gene I, there will be 6 possible types of genotypes. Okay, there will be 6 possible types of genotypes. Let us see what those possibles of genotypes will be. Before we learn about the possible genotypes, first we will revise what we have learnt here, students. Codominance is the characters of both the factors is expressed. Okay, the characters of both the factors is expressed in the offsprings. Example, ABO blood grouping, which is found in human beings. The gene I is responsible for ABO blood groupings. It is available in 3 allelic forms, IA, IB and I. Okay, small I. IA and IB are dominant. Small I is recessive. On the surface of the sugar polymer, on the surface of red blood cells, there are sugar polymers which are coded by the gene I, which are produced by the gene I. IA gene produces A sugars, IB gene produces B sugars. Small I does not produce any sugars. Because IA and IB both are producing sugars, these two are dominant, these two are codominant, these two are codominant. That means both of them are equally dominant. But because this is not producing any sugars, this small I is recessive. The small I, because it is not producing any sugars, the small I is recessive. IA, IB codominant, small I is recessive. Now let us see what happens to this combinations, genotypic combinations. Okay. So, male parent, female parent. Okay. So, from a male parent, female parent, we will see the possible genotypes and the possible blood groups. Okay. The male parent, if he is having IA allele, and if the female parent is having IB allele, what happens? Male parent is having IA and small I, or IA, I will just make these corrections, IA, IB, IA, small I. Okay, then what happens? Let us see. We will also see when it is IB, IB, IA, IB, small I, and small I. These are the possible combinations. Okay, if the male parent is capital IA, the female parent can be having the allele IA, IB or I. Okay, if the male parent is IB carrying IB, the female parent can have IB, IA or small I. Male parent is I, the female parent may also have I. Okay, so let us see what are the genotypes possible. IA, because both are dominant, the blood group will be A blood group, A group. Okay. IA, IB, because they are codominant to each other, so the blood group, the genotype will be IA, IB, and the blood group will be AB group. The blood group will be AB group. Okay. IA, small I, because small I is recessive, the IA small I will be the genotype because small I is recessive. This IA character will be only expressed and the blood group will be A blood group. Okay. Coming to the B parent, IB, the genotype will be IB. Okay. So, because both are same, they are going to give B blood group. Okay. IA, IB, I will write in this order, IA, IB. So, A and B both are codominant. So, their blood group will be AB blood group. Okay. IB small I, IB small I, small I is recessive. So, blood group will be B blood group. Okay. Small I, both are recessive. So, the blood group will be O group. Okay. In that way, in human beings there are 4 different types of blood groups. I will just write it here. In human beings 4 different types of blood groups are there, A, B, AB and O, because of the presence of the same gene I. I gene is responsible for the 4 different types of blood groups in human beings, A, B, AB and O. Okay. And we have seen the genotypes, IA, IAB, IA small I, IB, IA, IB small I, small I, small I. So, because these two are same, IAB are same, we are considering them to be same. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 possible genotypes. Okay. So, this I gene is giving, these 4 blood groups are having 6 possible genotypes. Okay. So, my I gene is giving 4 phenotypes and 6 possible genotypes. It is giving 4 phenotypes, that is AB or O, and 6 possible genotypes. Okay, 6 possible genotypes, because this is having 3 alleles, Okay, that is IA, IB and small I. These are the 3 alleles. Because of the presence of 3 alleles, this gene is giving 4 phenotypes and 6 possible genotypes. Okay. So, but students, any individual is diploid. Okay. Human beings, they are diploid. That means they have only 2 sets of genes. They have only 2 genes. But here there are 3 possible types of alleles. Right. So, there are only 1 gene which is existing in 2 forms. So, only 2 possible alleles can exist in any one individual, because we are diploid, we have only 2 sets of chromosomes. Any gene will exist in only 2 forms in a person's body. In any person there will be only 2 genes. Okay. There will be only 2 forms of a gene, 2 alleles will be only there in any person. But this I gene is having 3 alleles, IA, IB and small I. So, because there are 3 alleles for this gene, these alleles cannot be found in any individual. Any individual will contain only any of these 2 of these 3 alleles. Any human being consists of any 2 of these 3 alleles. Because we have only 2 possible alleles for any gene, we will have only 2 of these alleles. Okay. But when we go with a population, we check a population, then we will be seeing all the 3 types of alleles. So, these 3 alleles of the blood group gene I can be seen in a population, they cannot be seen in an individual. Okay. That is the other thing that has to be noted here. The 3 alleles of the gene I can be seen only in a population, they cannot be seen in an individual, because the these individuals, they are diploid, they contain only 2 possible alleles, they are seen in a population, not in a individual. Okay. So, here one more thing here that can be noted is, because one character, that is blood group, okay, one character I gene is controlling the blood group, one character blood group is controlled by 3 different alleles. Generally any character is controlled by 2 alleles only, but this one character is controlled by 3 different alleles. So, the controlling of one character by 3 different alleles is called as multiple allelism. It is called multiple allelism. Okay. Multiple allelism. Multiple allelism means one character is controlled by many genes, many alleles. Okay, one character is controlled by many alleles. Same gene but having many alleles is called as multiple allelism. Blood group genes, blood group alleles are the examples for multiple alleles. Blood group alleles Ia, Ib and small I are the examples for multiple alleles. Okay, so this is all about codominance. Okay students, so this is all for today. We have learnt regarding in today's class we have learned regarding what is a test cross, how do we identify the genotype of the individuals using a test cross. We have also learned regarding laws of inheritance based on monohybrid cross, that is we have learned law of dominance and law of segregation, and we have also learnt how the deviation has occurred from Mendelian inheritances when we have performed the same crosses in other plants, like we have seen a snapdragon. Okay, it has been showing incomplete dominance, and when we come to blood groups in human beings, this is showing multiple allelism, okay, which is different from Mendelian's inheritance. So in this way Mendelian inheritance was true to some extent but not applicable to all the different crosses. So what are the deviations from Mendelian crosses? Here with two different concepts we have learned. Okay, there are many more concepts to learn related to principles of inheritance and variations. We will discuss them in the next classes, students. Thank you all for joining the class. We will meet in the next class continuing the same concept, principles of inheritance and variation. Thank you all for joining the class.